Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to My Spouse is My Best Friend. I'm your co host, Nicole.
I'm Dr. Jason Green.
And today, this Thursday evening, we want to talk to you about second time around and why this marriage hits different. Yes, we are both in our second marriage. And today, we want to get real about what's it like being in a second marriage.
Yeah, I mean, it's different. It hits different. Being a second marriage, there's things that you go through, things that you think about before you even get in your second marriage. First things you have to think about is, why your first marriage didn't work, right? Um, when we come to this second marriage, do we come with fresh eyes? And most of the time we come with baggage. What are some of the challenges in the second marriage as well? What also makes the marriage better, right? Because you don't want to fail twice. And then we'll talk about some advice as we navigate through our second marriage and how we're making it work. So you want to start with why our first marriages didn't work?
Yeah, so I think for me, again, not placing blame on either party, I think we were just too young and we didn't know any better. Um, and so it was just kind of a life lesson. So I guess it was like my practice. So just because I really didn't know what's expected of me as a wife and what was expected of him as a husband. So we were kind of winging it.
hmm I think mine was, again, I was young as well. And again, there's no blame game. I don't regret it. I don't regret my first marriage because it really taught me a lot about relationships, right? And I think the main thing why it didn't work is because we didn't have God first
Mhm.
in our marriage. We were both, winging it. I owned clubs. We were partying. We were doing a lot of other stuff, but our marriage wasn't first. We weren't first. I didn't put her first. And we just kind of, we were just young. But it did teach me a lot in navigating or bringing to the second marriage on what's important in marriage. And the first thing is God, right? And knowing what the hierarchy is, knowing that God's first, my wife is second, children come last, and everything else falls in between that. That's the recipe for success, and that wasn't in my first marriage. So again, we don't blame spouses. I think we thank them, right? Because they taught us
Yep.
a lot to bring in our second marriage and what not to do, right? And what to do better.
And the mistakes that we made, we learned from it,
hmm
and just kept it moving. And so it shaped our experience in marriages. And so I just appreciate those experiences, and I don't regret anything because again, it's a life's lesson.
Yeah. So, and then, when we met each other, when um, we didn't come dating, right? We just kind of just started talking.
We've always been friends.
We've always been friends. So the second time around, we, of course, we did approach it a little different because, you still have the lingering, just got out of a marriage. You really want to do that again. Y'all both have, different baggages or different suitcases that you're
Right.
bringing in to the new marriage. And so there's a lot to talk about. But again, learning from that first marriage, that you have to set expectations, that you have to come with all out.
Yeah, I think it's like building a house. So in my first marriage, I built a house, and that didn't work out. And so it's like you sell that house, but then you find another house, and then you build that house, and you don't go back to the first house and take the kitchen sink and then bring that over to your second house.
Oh yeah, absolutely not. Because when you build new houses or new foundations, you always want to get new furniture.
Yep.
So you don't want to bring the baggage in that you previously had, or or any appliances or furniture into the new marriage,
Right.
because it's new, and you want to start new. You want to start fresh. And again, it's about setting those expectations and really talking through of, hey, this is what I expect out of my marriage. What do you expect?
Right. And not just, again, marriage, but as in a partner. So I know I made a list of things that I wanted, and you met like 9 out of 10. But it was interesting because that 10th one was something that I didn't know I needed. So that's I found that interesting because I said I didn't want a guy that had kids because I had kids, but I think with you having a child, I think you were able to understand some of the things that I went through with my children as we went through the dating and then the whole blending series. So
Yeah. And I also wanted to make sure that we were equally yoked, right? And that we had the same goals in the marriage, spiritual goals, that we're on the same page there. I mean, because you can't come into the second marriage and you're going different ways. Um, Again, it's all about setting the expectations. It's the second time around. And I think it's a good thing because you know what to expect. You know what failed in your first marriage, what not to bring into your second marriage. It is scary because you're trying again. You don't want to fail twice, right? If you fail 3 times, you fail 4 times. You have to look at yourself after a while, right? Because it might not be the other person. It's probably you. So make sure that your expectations are met.
yeah. So what stood out to you about me when we rekindled, or when we not rekindled, but when you saw me again?
What stood out?
Mm-hmm.
Probably your spiritual relationship with God. I was in that time in my life where I was really getting closer to Him and really putting Him first. And in talking to you, when we were talking on the phone and relearning each other, we had a lot of conversations around that. And what stood out is that we were equally yoked in that area. We both shared those same goals, and we both put God first. And you also understood what came out. Again, when we talked about our first marriages, you didn't blame, or you weren't how can I put it, mad or anything like that. You took it as a learning experience. Mm-hmm. And that's where I was too. I took it as a learning experience. It wasn't this cliche of you got to be mad at your spouse, or you put the blame game on your ex or whatnot. We took that and learned from it, and we both were doing that in that same space. So I respected that. So that's really what stood out. What stood out about me?
Well, 3 words: tall, dark,
oh Lord,
and handsome, and wavy hair, curly hair.
You haven't. She's trying to say I'm bald now, but hey, I still look sexy.
You do. You still tall, dark, and handsome. Bald. That's all right. I like it. But now that we're married and we have kids and we've blended our families, we went through, the growing pains, which we've talked about previously, of blending a family, understanding to keep our baggage out with a little counseling here, understanding, our roles of husband and wife biblically, going to church, as you're saying, being equally yoked and understanding exactly what that is. And then we became certified marriage counselors. So I think we've come a long way from, again, where we started to where we are now. And I know we have a lot more growth to do, but I'm enjoying the ride.
I'm enjoying the ride too. And what's, there's always, I know moving a goalpost, sometimes it gets frustrating, but in a marriage, you have to move that goalpost because you always have to be getting better in your marriage, right? And growing together and not apart.
Right.
What makes this marriage better is the fact that we're doing things differently now because we learned from our second marriages. We feel like more of a team. We're more mature. We have wisdom. We know how to communicate with each other,
right,
and not talk at each other. We know how to respect each other's opinion,
right,
and really become a unit, right? And I know I keep saying it, a hierarchy. We know what put first. God is first, and then my wife, and I treat her like my church because that's what the Bible says, and that's what makes it work.
Yep. And so I feel like we're living my spouse is my best friend because we are a unit. We are a team. We like to have fun together. We laugh. We don't really argue. Our argument is not even arguments, disagreements. And a lot of times we're laughing through those disagreements. So I just enjoy the moment of, hey, this is my best friend. This is the guy that I know that has my back. Is he's fighting the East, I'm fighting the West. And at the end of the day, it's the two of us.
Again, I mean, and she hit around the nail. Being friends is important. That's why we created this, my spouse, my best friend, because, if you don't have that foundation of friendship, because, a marriage is a very long time. and, and if you're not friends and don't like each other, it's probably not going to last that long. So, even before we started talking about marriage in our second marriage, we learned to become really, really good friends. In that aspect. So, sometimes, even when we were talking, she was dating other people. I was dating other people. We were out there, really, I don't know if you can call it dating, but we were seeing other people, testing the waters or whatnot, but we would talk about that. Mm-hmm. And, sometimes they say, hey, I need your friend hat right now. And it was great to build that relationship in the very, very beginning because, again, marriage is a very long ride. So, I mean, it's important to be friends.
Yep. So for those that have come to us and asked how we did it, how do we blend families, how did we, or what do we feel about second marriages? I think, as you said, the first and foremost is, just be honest with yourself and don't rush into it. Mm-hmm. We did not set out to be in a relationship. Like you said, we were friends. And even he said, wouldn't it be funny if we got together? And I was like, oh no, we're friends. That was furthest from either our minds. We were just, we both had went through divorce and we were each other's soundboard and we had known each other for a very long time. So, I mean, that it is what it is.
And the great part about that is, building our relationship on friendship is there was no holds bar. I mean, she knew everything from the rooter to the tutor. So there was no skeletons in the closet coming into the marriage. So there was no surprises. There was no hidden surprises that when we got married that I found out later on. We found that out before we even got married because we were friends. We were talking. We were putting everything out on the table. We were asking each other for advice. We were taking all the skeletons out the closet, putting them on the table with no shame because there was no judgment, right? And so it was really great, really building that kind of friendship before we got married. I think that's what makes it work.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then also create your boundaries and talk about what's your non-negotiables, things that, is a deal breakers or things that can be bent. Because again, when you get in a marriage, you're marrying the whole person. You're marrying their habits, their traits, their financial situations, mm-hmm. their families, their mamas. So you're marrying the whole person. So
talk about all that.
So again, as you're building your foundation, start having those conversations now, because you don't want 6 months into your relationship, you realize is one of y'all don't want kids, or I really don't like your mama. So those conversations you should have early.
Yeah, and don't get lost in the nostalgia of things at the very beginning. Be real with each other. Be honest with yourself. Don't rush to healing because, coming out of divorce is hard. And I know it's very tempting to try to mask those feelings by getting into a relationship real quick, but it's not smart.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're ready to move on. Make sure you're ready to leave that. Make sure that you have learned what you look at that and say, hey, why did this work? Mm-hmm. And not bring into your second marriage. Also, don't carry the past into the present. Leave that baggage there. I know, like we said that a couple of times, and build something new. This is not a sequel. This is not part 2. This is new, and it's not fair to your new spouse to treat it that way because she's not, Nicole 2.0. I mean, she is my wife, my new spouse, so I want to treat her that way.
Yeah, same here, same here. And I like you.
Oh, I like you too. So silly. All right, so that's our take on our second time around. Make sure you click like and subscribe. Also visit our website, My Spouse, My Best Friend.
Yes.
Get some. We have some merch. If you want to remember, all purchases on our website goes to our college fund for our first time first generation college students.
Yep.
So we've been funding this out of our pocket for a while. So we want to do better. We want to do more.
Mm-hmm.
So help us out. Check out our merch, and like I said, all the proceeds will go towards that. And so we really appreciate it.
Yeah. So thanks for joining in. Come back next week, next Thursday, 7 p.m. Bye, everyone.
Bye.